extraordinaire, the gemologist.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. This is another special episode because I have a very special guest with me today to talk about stuff, mainly games, probably some football, because it's the NFL divisional round this weekend. And this guy, like myself, is into sports as well as games, and that is M.W. Lewis of the Worlds of M.W. Lewis podcast. How are you doing today, M.W.?
Oh, I'm very good, Carl, and I want to thank you for having me on. It's really an honor to me that you've invited me onto your show. So I listen to your show all the time, and I enjoy it. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I took like a little break, probably during the holidays, like most people. But I feel like now I'm starting to churn out some episodes. I'm doing. I don't know if you listen to like or what you think of the mini review Mondays. I've been trying to be consistent about, and then
Yeah.
just a regular podcast. And now apparently I'm going to have a series of interviews. I have a few interviews lined up because it's like I feel like it's not Zine Quest sponsored by Kickstarter, but it is like a there's like a I guess a creator driven zine month in progress. And actually, as well as football, the important divisional round this weekend,
Yeah.
you have a Kickstarter going on right now.
Oh, I do. I do. Thank you for reminding me of that. I almost forgot all about it, really. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually I'm working very hard on the Kickstarter. It's my first one ever. Not a lot of people really know me out there, so I'm trying to take a chance on it. And so thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, it's just my adventure I developed over 2 or 3 years, real real play testing scenarios. It's called Nicomedes Tower. I think it has an expanded title. So it's a Kickstarter. It's a fun adventure for low-level adventurers geared towards the Magic user. I really think it's the kind of adventure that could be played in any RPG system that's swords and sorcery, but I did develop it playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 1E.
Oh,
So I
very cool.
referenced some of the rules and some of I don't really use a lot of AD&D stuff in there. I'm not going to put the OGL in it, but it could be adapted to any RPG system, I think, and plunk down the way this adventure is written. You could plunk it down anywhere in the world you're running. So I think it's fun, and I'm going to do some interviews with people who play tested it with me on
Oh,
my
great.
yeah, my show. So hopefully right now we're at about 40% of support in just about 4 or 5 days now. So I'm happy, thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, great. Yeah, if you, I mean, he really goes into a lot of detail on our mutual friend Jason Connerly of Nerds RPG Variety Cast in episode 457, MW, and he talked extensively about Nicomedean's Tower, a dungeon RPG adventure, which, like you said, is about 40% funded. I noticed I did have a question for you that you did not address with
Okay.
Jason. I noticed that it's a really long opening for the Kickstarter. I mean, the Kickstarter is open for a long time. It's not
Yeah.
until March.
I guess
When
it's that might be a rookie mistake there, Carl. I'm
okay,
new at it, and I have a lot to learn. I have a lot to even I'm even questioning the minimum amount I was trying to achieve. Maybe well, anyway, I don't want to get into me. That's just a rookie mistake. It was a great question, and other people have asked me about it. I guess I in retrospect I should have narrowed that.
yeah, because I have heard talk to other Kickstarter people, and they say there's a lot of people that probably click I'm interested, but then not until the last few days do they kind of
Yeah.
pay up or hit the button yes.
Well,
So
just
I
to
don't know.
show you,
You
I'm not a
gotta
business. I'm not a bit. See, I'm not a business. So all those people who play RPGs who are anti-corporatist and hate WotC support me because I am really the antithesis of that. I'm
all
just
right.
some guy sitting in my house and I threw up a Kickstarter. I didn't hire a marketing director or anyone to help me plan it out. I just followed the model of some other people who I know who did Kickstarters, and they also did the 60 days. So I appreciate you bringing it up now because Jason asked me about it too, and next time I am going to put another one up at the end of the year
Okay.
with three adventures
Oh,
in one
nice.
book. Yeah, and I will do better on the Kickstarter, and
You might.
that's my promise to you. Actually, I'll do
All right.
better.
All right. So I guess you're gonna have to make a LIC, LLC, or an Inc. If you're making three modules or four, it'd be that point.
Well, they'll all be one book, three adventures in
Oh,
one
three in
book.
one book.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just gonna be three in one book. Yeah, they're short adventures that are again that things you could put down and use, and they come out of my demented mind. So I think
Oh,
I think they're fun.
wow. Okay. So you did. So I one thing I will say, I do like something I do a lot of Kickstarters, probably way more than I should. So I feel like I'm experienced to talk about this. I do appreciate you communicating with your backers. I do like the fact that within a few days, you already have 8 updates, and it really bothers me. And it's probably linked actually to the bigger the company, the less they communicate with you. Back to that corporate thing, but you've communicated a lot with us and shown us previews, and I think that's very exciting, gets people excited. So you can even just go on and check out like what MW's been adding, to the campaign for this. And in fact, I think I love, because it does bring back very nostalgic memories. I think that's redundant, but it appeals to my nostalgia. The blue
That
blue
map.
background, yeah, blue
Yeah.
background, white map. Not a lot of very simple keys in there, or your standard AD&D old TSR module key, which is I think is great. And
Well,
I thought it was really cool.
if people like that, I might do that with the next one that I put
Yeah,
out at the end of the year. But I was viewing it more like a one-time only thing for nostalgia,
yeah,
and I love it.
yeah. So I hear some. So there's this one company called Art of the Genre, and they put out kind of OSR type modules. But what they do, well, they kind of put like a OSR type stat blocks, and as well as a AD&D or D&D 5e stat blocks. But they also do like these kind of nostalgic type blue background maps, but then also do like a 3D map, which you kind of are. I kind of are doing that, not a 3D map, but at least like a color map for the VTT portion.
Yeah, we're gonna do the VTT maps if we get the level of support. Yeah.
So there definitely are people who really like just seeing, and it's actually helpful for a DM or GM, is to see like what does it look like in a very simple form before you do all the strange different colors and hard to find the
Yeah.
doors. And I think this really says, okay, the DM, even if you don't use this map, you could do this as using a whiteboard actually, and makes it a lot simpler. But even if you don't use this map, the DM, GM, whatever you're calling him today, can see the map and get a great overview on what the map's all about in a very simple format before you get to like a more complex VTT or 3D
Yeah.
map. I think that's a great idea and a great tool. Plus, and the bonus is that it harkens to our nostalgia. If we
Yeah.
played back in the late 70s, early 80s,
And I
like I
use
did.
VTT maps too in my online games, but I for almost every adventure I run that's not mine, I also have a PDF or a booklet and I do refer back to those maps often because you're right, the VTT map maybe it has more to do with our age or something, but sometimes it's hard to see all the details. And once all the tokens are on there, it's not. And by the way, when you have a VTT map, you're hiding a lot too. So sometimes you want to reference what's to come, and having that full map is handy. And by the way, that I put up an image with the key. There's the full key there, and only 5 of the 22 encounter areas. So I'm
Mm,
not going to put those up on the Kickstarter, but
right.
there are 17 other encounter areas. And I'm using the same cartographer I call her an artist to do the VTT maps because that's really her specialty.
Huh.
And in fact, I'm going to be interviewing her on my podcast because
Oh,
she
great.
really did such a great job. And I even recommended her to another game developer who's in the process of using her.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really good. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so you did mention here it's kind of AD&D first edition, right? I know you run first edition games. So let's
Well, it was
talk about
developed using it. Yeah.
so
Mhm.
so kind of tell me why, with all these um retro clones, as I guess they're calling them, with the OSR movement, some big ones, including like OSE, which is mainly BX. Why
Yeah.
AD&D first edition? Why do you still play it?
Yeah. That's a great question. Well, first of all, I really like AD&D. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the most basic answer. But the real reason is it's kind of funny. Back in 2016, I had a gap. Jason talks to a lot of people, and you do too, who have had gaps, right, in their playing experience. So when I got brought back into it in 2016, I was, I was so like disassociated with the world of RPG that I didn't even know there was a 5e of Dungeons and Dragons. So I just pulled out my old books and said to my son and his friends, I said, "Hey, I got D&D too. Why don't you guys come over? I'll show you guys how to play." And we started playing, and then they're like, "Well, this isn't D&D. We don't know what this is. Like,
Yeah,
what are these books and these rules? And there are no perception checks, and there's no this and that." And I'm like, so then I started to educate myself on the whole thing, and I can just give I don't want to say why I don't play other RPGs because that would be an unfair question to me and to other RPG systems. But I will answer why I don't play 5e. I started to look at the 5e rules and tried to play it, and it just no criticism of the game itself. It just doesn't do it for me. I just don't. I prefer to play 1e.
that's really cool. Yeah, I feel like I grew up on 1E. Really, my first D&D product was the Moldvay box set basic. I got it for Christmas.
Hmm.
But then, I feel like it was like at Michael's because it definitely there weren't really gaming shops back then that I
Yeah.
recall. But it was like at Michael's there was like the monster manual, and I was like, oh, that must be the monsters for this book. But of course, it's
Yeah.
AD&D, right? And it's not.
Is that-
It wasn't compatible. It's compatible, but not compatible. But
Yeah, well, you notice the stat blocks were different. There was
yeah,
no
yeah.
morale. The monster manual didn't have the morale score. You're like, what's this? No morale score.
But the key is it said advanced, and that was the important thing. It
Yes.
said advanced, not basic. So then we're like, well, we're going to play the advanced rules, and it took off ever since.
Yeah.
Ran the modules, ran my own stuff. Really, and I think I really have a lot of great memories from AD&D. I play, as people know, I run and play all sorts of games, but really AD&D and some of the other TSR games like Star Frontiers for sci-fi, Traveler also, but AD&D was like the fantasy game that was
Yeah.
our go-to, and that was back. I feel when both Greyhawk and even the Forgotten Realms, people don't believe me or won't believe me, but the Forgotten Realms was pretty empty when Ed Greenwood and the Grey Box first came out,
That's
and
right.
you could do whatever you wanted in there, and we did, and it was really cool. So
It was
I have a lot
great.
of
I
great
think
memories
D
from
and
that.
D, AD, I might have the same experience. I started with the Moldvay. I didn't know anything about Holmes, and I didn't know anything about ODD. And like you, I didn't have a gaming store. We were in a mall. We went to B. Dalton bookstore. Or now I know exactly where I got my Dungeon Masters guide because I happen to have the label still in it. I got it
Oh
at a store
wow.
called One Stop. I think it was called One Stop Games, which wasn't really an RPG game. It's not like a modern gaming store today. It was more like a toy store, really.
Hmm.
So, we just bought the stuff what they had. They didn't have like posters and stuff from TSR. So we started Molbay, and I do a bit on my podcast that I call the basic to AD&D muddle. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like
Hmm.
that natural muddling of the rules because when you're 12 and you played basic for a year, now you're playing AD&D. Let's face it, we skipped half the rules in the AD. We just looked up the new rules.
Yeah.
But I still use the old morale rolls and all kinds of things. I still just used a lot of the basic rules at first. It took
Hmm.
me a while to really fully appreciate how much different the AD&D rules were.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah. Example for like round length, basically, right? Like 6 seconds to a minute, or 10 to 6 seconds to a minute, or very
Yeah.
vague too. And then weapon speed, another big table with lots of different numbers, and what does that mean? And um
Yeah.
yeah.
And back then we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but sports, I played sports, and I know there's a lot of gamers who didn't, but quite frankly, I knew a lot of gamers who did. I knew a lot of gamers who played soccer, football, not as many in football, but I didn't have time. I didn't really, and I was a good student too, so I'm trying to get A's in school, and I worked all kinds of things. I didn't have time to sit and read that whole DMG. We just wanted to play the game. We just wanted enough rules to play the game and have fun. And to me, that's the ultimate way to judge a game. If the people play it and have fun, then it's a successful game. If you
Yeah.
play it and you don't have fun, and I have played games where I don't enjoy them, then to me they're not successful.
Yep. And I love how you mentioned B Dalton because I think I still have my original I-1 Dwellers to the Forbidden City, Barrier Peaks, and Tomb of Horrors that I bought at B Dalton. I think the Tomb of Horrors even has this weird like clip on it because it was on sale or something. It was like, and they clipped like a corner, like you clip an animal's ear or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
And
it's awesome. I mean, I love those stores, you know?
that's where I got a lot. And then and we didn't know. I mean, like I don't have them anymore, but even like the early Dragonlance stuff, the first edition Dragonlance stuff, I would just buy it. And like I didn't know if it was the same world or not. It just looked cool. The cover looked cool. The back, the advertisement on the back about what the adventure was about was kind of neat. And of course,
Yeah.
if you remember things like Ravenloft and
Yeah.
the Dragonlance modules, I think I have my original Ravenloft. They have those 3D maps and yeah.
Yeah,
That was a
well,
little
I have
later.
all that stuff too.
Yeah.
You know what I love too? I look at my label since I still have my original books, and you see me on the Zoom here. I'm looking at it.
Mhm.
The price here for my monster manual. This is back in probably 19. This is the recovered one, as you can see, the
Mhm.
recovered monster manual. So that came out around 81 or 82, maybe 83. I think. $11.98. So you know what? I ran that through an inflation calculator.
Uh-huh.
That's about $50 today. And
Oh,
that's
it's not
about
good.
what TSR
About
charges.
right.
That's about what WotC's charging for their books.
Yeah.
About $50.
Wow.
So,
There you go.
you know, honestly, you have someone should credit WotC for not really technically jacking up the prices that much. They've
Yeah, they
just
just
did the same
followed
price,
inflation.
just inflated. Yeah.
Yeah. Followed. Unlike a Ticketmaster.
Right. Yeah, no, yeah, Ticketmaster has jacked up prices and inflated them. So there's
Yeah, yeah.
inflated and jacked up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big music guy, but I'm not gonna pay $700 to see Metallica.
No, no, sorry. That goes against the
So
whole spirit of rock and roll, doesn't it?
oh totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I recently I just I really can't as I get older, I can't do big venues anymore. I get a lot of anxiety, a lot of unknowns. But
Yeah.
so I think the last big show I did was Judas Priest. Think about it a couple of years ago, or last year. But now I'm just gonna do. I might do festivals because it's open, right? And you see multiple bands.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do like small venues.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I have to stick more to the acoustics. I did U2 Joshua Tree tour. What was that?
Oh my
2017,
god, so
18?
did I. Oh my god,
Yeah, did you? I did it in
were we
DC.
like? Are we like brothers from another mother?
I don't know,
Oh,
man.
that's
I
weird.
don't
I remember
know.
seeing I saw Joshua Tree the Joshua Tree tour in Austin though. So you probably
When it
didn't see.
first,
Yeah.
this time in 2017. It was
Oh,
2017,
oh,
right?
I saw this way back when
Oh,
everything
way
was
back.
happening.
No, I'm
Yeah.
talking about the redo. When they
Oh
did the
wow.
redo in 2017, I saw it in DC. Now, here's the thing. I didn't see it back in
Oh,
87 or whenever it first
right.
came out, and I was jealous of my friend Lou, who
Yeah.
did go see it
Oh, okay.
at the Spectrum. So you saw it in Austin, you said?
Yeah, at the Irwin Center. I think I don't even.
I
It's
had
probably not
friends who,
even called that. But
yeah. Well, the Spectrum doesn't even exist anymore in
oh
Philly. That
wow.
was torn down. So,
Dang.
so I went, and afterwards, I'm just like, I'm just old. It was too loud. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not up for
You
these big
gotta
venue and the
you gotta put in the
loudness.
plugs, the
Yeah,
earplugs, and
I didn't
yeah.
know. Just like my D&D, I didn't know.
You didn't
I'm
know.
so naive, Carl. I'm just naive. I'm like a child. I'm like a babe in the woods.
So actually, this kind of uh, segues into naivety because we wanted to buy every single book that came out, right? So,
Yes.
and we would buy dragons when they had like the ninja NPC class, but people wanted to run it as a PC class or whatever, or the witch, etc. But they kind of I feel like Gary Gygax with all that pressure to make the game more exciting and make the player characters more powerful, put out this what I feel most modern AD&D gamers call an apocrypha, and that was Unearthed Arcana.
Yeah. And I got
So
that book. So my
I did
friends
too.
got
Mine fell apart though. I don't
my
have my original.
Yeah, I
Mine
have it
fell
right
apart.
here. My very original. And
Oh,
it's
that's
not from an
awesome.
auction. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is mine. And my friends had the ones who introduced us to D&D, they had the Dragon magazines. And
Uh-huh.
I didn't have a lot of money. I have a working class
Yeah.
background. I'm amazed I actually have all these books actually. Because after years of telling my kids my parents never bought me anything, I pull out all this D&D stuff and they're like, "We thought your parents never bought you anything." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I'm exaggerating." But this book at the time was not maligned, or at least by anyone I knew. People got the book. You tried the new character races. Of course, you didn't like them all, like the barbarian and the cavalier is the typical one people hate. Um,
Right. They're
and
hard to, especially the barbarian, hard to play in a group if you go with the rules as written. They destroy magic items. Won't hard to get a group together because
yeah,
they won't hang out with magic users.
it just seems like it doesn't fit into the game, honestly. So, but if you're like we were, and we were already picking and choosing our rules anyway, out of the basic set and the advanced set, we just continued, right? So you just used it like a menu. And I think what we really liked as my group of players was all the new magic user spells and cantrips. We liked that stuff, and we really liked all the new weapons that were listed and all the new treasure items. So, the changes. I know one of my friends played the thief acrobat. He really liked that character class, and he generated a lot of thief acrobat characters that he used. But otherwise, we kind of ignored the beginning part of the book and just stuck to all that new fun stuff that comes later in it. So I like it. I still use it.
Yeah. I think what we liked were like the proficiencies mainly, and that kind of jumped into the other two books, the other maybe quote unquote one AD&D 1.5 books, Dungeoneers and Wilderness Survival Guide. And you before there was no like skills, you had like a background, but then the proficiencies kind of introduced this idea that your character didn't just do dungeon crawls and hang out in a tavern counting their coin afterwards, but they actually could do other things. And of course the proficiencies also led to like the specialization, double specialization. People were
Yeah.
firing multiple arrows or double arrows, like in arrows that were lightning bolts, like in the D&D cartoon. So I
Yeah,
think that's what
and we
we
didn't
liked
use
about it.
those two books. Yeah, we didn't use those two books, but I have gotten those since I got back into it in 2016, and I like we do use those proficiencies. Some people want to be hunters and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, there's rules for that. And also there's other rules. Those books really shouldn't be taken as a whole and used entirely, but there is stuff in each of those two books, the Dungeon, Near, and the Wilderness, that are useful. There's a lot of useful stuff. So again, if you're just looking to have some quick and easy rules that you feel are not in the DMG or the Player's Handbook, all three of those books offer something to a dungeon master.
Right, right. Yeah, so don't I wouldn't I would say read them, pick them up, look through yourself. It doesn't say you have to incorporate all these rules exactly as they are. It's very modular. Like I've used, for example, in the Dungeoneers, for domain play, like the mining rules. Like they have
Yeah,
how to develop a mine, how to the percentages of good stuff that you might find in a mine and how much it costs to operate, and it expands on domain play, which is great. And you don't have to, like you said, use everything, but
yeah.
check
And
it out.
the real hard core people who feel like if the books don't have the entire book's not valuable, why have it at all? They would say to you, well, you could have just made those rules up yourself. But I'm like you. I rather, if I can look it up somewhere and have it, I'd rather do that. So I one of the things I liked in the Wilderness Guide is we were trying to figure out campfires, how big your campfire has to be, how far away people could see your campfire. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go on some hiking groups and camping groups and try to fit. Oh, lo and behold, it's in the Wilderness Survival Guide. Now, is it realistic? Well, who cares? It's a rule. Everyone liked it. We'll use it. So, take it or leave it. But I think these books have some value. So,
Yeah, and who doesn't like, even at the very minimum level, new spells and new magic items, right?
oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single module. Oh, but they do. I think it is kind of like they the modern gaming companies have followed this pattern too, because I know Paizo does, and I'm sure, and WotC does for sure. Is like, so the new spells and new spells and new magic items are come from their modules, right? And it's like a compilation. So now it's all in one place, and you don't have to go looking through uh lost lost tomb of the with the Sawjunk. Is that the one? Lost Tomb of Saw? No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. I can't say that.
yeah, I can't either. The one
I
with
can't speak the English language barely.
the one with the Behir on the cover. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's the Lost Caverns of Saljunk. It has a lot of
Yeah.
cool magic items, but you can find them in on Arcana, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Um, all right. So, well, good. We got to talk. I've been wanting to talk about Arcana for, and you're not negative about it, which I think
Yeah.
is
Last
helpful.
thing before we segue to whatever we talk about next, I just want to say about the basic edition of the Mulligan. I do play AD&D, but I love the basic edition. I mean I would play basic any day. OSE, basic, whatever. I love my basic and I use my basic modules in almost every AD&D game I play because I love the basic edition. So,
Yeah, I feel like that's what we did anyway. It's like I took oh, we're playing the advanced game, so but I'll take keep on the Borderlands and run it in AD&D and
yeah.
pluck it somewhere. I know
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it works in Greyhawk, but I'll just throw it in Greyhawk anyway.
Yeah. And X1, the one that came with the expert set, I think
Yeah,
most expert sets had X1.
yeah,
I love
Isle
my,
of Dread.
I have a large collection of the B and X modules, and
Yeah.
to just show, even after I bought those hardback books, I still kept buying the X and B modules
Oh,
because
they're
they're,
fantastic.
they're fantastic.
Yeah, and I think like one that is overlooked is B4 the Lost City, which I've talked about, and it's
Yeah,
kind of one
I
of
was
our backup
jealous.
games. And
I would have played in that game. I would have played if I had known. I would
yeah,
have played.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's like it's a spontaneous backup game when we don't play our regular game. But who knows? Who knows how these things develop? But what's great about it is, it is also by Moldvay, by Tom Moldvay, by the way. But what's great about it is it's one would say nowadays it's not complete, but I think this is not it's not a flaw, it's a feature. And that Moldvay, because they wanted to stick to that 32 page whatever, but Moldvay gives you the adventure, but then it's so expandable. Like you have the whole Lost City. He outlines the rest of the floors in the double pyramid that's in the adventure, and then you can just run with it. So I think
Yeah.
that's what's great about that one. And I
Well, it's
think
really emblematic of the old style
right,
modules. I think it was B1 or B3 where it even has blank room descriptions for the dungeon master to make up himself,
yeah,
you know.
right,
And I figure so that was sort of the Gonzo style back then that
right.
the idea from the TSR creators was it's the dungeon master who's creating the game. So I guess I don't know if that's acceptable today. Maybe that might not be acceptable by today's consumers, but I think it
Yeah,
worked really well back then.
yeah. I don't know when it changed. I feel like it maybe changed with the at the beginning of second edition, or with this idea of
Well, I think the
story adventures,
Dragonlances,
right?
the I series started a little bit, then the Dragonlances and the Raven. Yeah, there's a reason why it started to change, and it started to change with TSR. But whatever, things evolve. So
Yeah. Well, I
yeah,
don't know. Ravenloft, right? Like I was talking to someone who's run the Curse of Strahd 5e version, and I have a Ravenloft somewhere, I6, but it. Yes, there was a story, but the story was kind of the whole Barovia was a sandbox anyway. It's not like you had
yeah,
to go in a linear path. And then the linear path was even the story was generated randomly, so you could do it multiple times with the same people probably, because if you do the tarot reading, it can end up different every time, right? So you get
yeah.
multiple. I think there was a built-in multiple playability, right? So in these old modules. So I really appreciate that, and I think what was cool is that the 5e, the guy who ran it just now for 5e, one of my friends, he's like, oh yeah, they had that in there too. So they've kept that. That could also be a snide little commentary on that. They just keep rehashing the old stuff in WotC 5e. I guess that's great for the new generation, and it's nice to have, but it's like I run Ghosts of Saltmarsh, Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh,
Oh, I love
but
that.
I had like both copies open, really, because and I worked really well. I mean, it was still a tough as nails, and even in the 5e incarnation, which I think was great. So
Well,
yeah,
it's not just gaming that rehashes the past. All you have to do is look at Hollywood.
oh yeah, that's true. Like,
Yeah,
is there a new?
yeah,
I just saw that they have the '90s show, which is the '70s show on Netflix. But in the
yeah,
'90s, yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know.
There's nothing new anymore.
Right, nothing new. Yeah, it's very rare to get like a nothing you or an original idea. I'm shocked that they haven't redone like Titanic yet, but I'm sure that
Well, hey, I'll
Titanic
bring you.
too.
Yeah, Titanic, Titanic, the relaunch.
I know.
It sunk again. Well,
Right.
imagine that.
You can't hit the same iceberg twice, or I guess
Well, I'm going to tell
the
you, Carl. Now
tagline
that
might
we
be
have your
does an iceberg strike twice? I don't know.
well, let me tell you though, for your listeners now who are wanting fresh content, they could go to my Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, definitely. There you go. We're not redoing, an old TSR module in this one. We're not redoing the ghost of it, the ghost tower of Inverness. This is something
No,
totally new.
nope,
So,
nope.
although another great competition module, Ghost Tower.
That's a great module.
See something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You're making me want to play all these
I know,
games.
I know.
I love them all.
I don't. I was going to
Yeah.
say. I almost said a spoiler, and then that would have been Jason Connerly wouldn't have listened to the podcast. But I almost threw out a spoiler about the Ghost Tower, but I will refrain.
Let's not spoil these modules. These
No, no.
great modules. Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned something kind of cool earlier, and I think we'll segue into this, and because this is a big sports weekend, like I said at the top of the show, NFL divisional round. I think this is. I mean, super wild card weekend that they're calling it was really fun, but this
Oh,
to
that
me
was a
is like
great weekend.
this is like the real old school deal. There was no wild card way back when I started watching football, and I too played sports in middle school and in high school as well as gamed. And I don't think those two groups are mutually exclusive. In fact, when I was in college, like some of the people I ran D&D with, they played on the football team. So
Yeah.
I don't think they're exclusive, although I don't know, something happened between then and now, because in a way it's like, well, I felt like the philosophy was, well, you like to play team building activities, team sports. Team D&D really is a team group activity, and those were kind of mutually compatible. But somewhere along the way, I don't know, maybe in the late 80s, early 90s, maybe it was the fault of the satanic panic, who knows, that these two groups diverged.
Yeah.
But hey, it's sports weekend.
It did diverge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sports weekend. I see you're wearing a Philadelphia Eagles hat. So
Yes. Because I am from Philadelphia originally.
So let's talk about football. I'm actually, I remember a few years ago, I just started out that they said that the NFC East was like the worst division in football. Now that moniker is the NFC South, but they're gone, and there's three NFC East teams still in the playoffs. Your Eagles,
3 still in, 1 barely missed. I guess their coach didn't know that they were about to be eliminated or something like that. And it's very possible the NFC East could be playing to go to the Super Bowl. In fact, I would say it's very likely.
You think so? Oh, so you think, okay, well, let's talk about that. So you feel like, well, for the first game, Giants Eagles, right? I think that's NFC East team, whoever wins. I'm sure you're going.
Yeah, the Giants Eagle game is the night game on Saturday.
Saturday,
right.
Yeah. So prediction?
Well, Eagles. Well, but with a qualification, it's going to be very difficult because they've already beaten the Giants twice in the regular season, which is hard to do, to beat your division rival twice in a season, and to do it a third time, it's really hard. But it has happened before, and I believe it's going to happen again Saturday night. But I will say the Giants looked. First of all, we didn't talk about last weekend.
Oh, okay.
Those
Let's
games
talk about
were
Super Wild Card.
fantastic. Yeah, they were fantastic, and the Giants looked really good. I mean, no kidding. They just looked dominant in their win.
Yeah, that Minnesota Vikings couldn't stop Dan Jones at all. And then add on top of that Saquon Barkley. So So for those of you who will probably skip over this,
I hope they don't, though.
I hope they don't. Daniel Jones is the quarterback of the Giants. Saquon Barkley is the running back, and they ran all over the Vikings, really.
They destroyed them and controlled the ball, and so it's going to be a big test for the Eagles, but the Eagles have a better defense, and they also can control the football like the Giants do. So I'm hopeful. So I mean, let me ask you a question, Carl. I know it's your show, but I'm going to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Did you enjoy that Jacksonville game last week?
I
I don't know if
was,
you got a chance to see it.
Yeah, we're switching to AFC. I did watch it. I think I feel like, oh yeah, my wife also likes watching football. But she's like, she saw at the after the first half in the Jaguars, I'm gonna say Jaguars, in the Jaguars game, she's like, they're done. And she went to bed, but I stayed up and I thought it was such an amazing turnaround and how the Jaguars came back and
Yeah.
won that game. I mean,
That
I
was
think
an
the
yeah, because the game before that, the other NFC one was that San Fran game. That wasn't so hot. It was pretty good through the half, but then
yeah,
the 49ers predictably kind of ran away with it. But
and I,
that Jaguars game, man,
yeah,
I like Doug Peterson. You know, he did help the Eagles win the
yes,
Super Bowl 5 years ago, and
uh-huh,
um, then I kind of like their quarterback. You know, he's this
yeah,
young
Trevor
guy with
Lawrence,
his long locks.
long
I mean, he's
hair.
kind of like a D&D hero.
Yeah, he is, and he's a man of the people. He goes to celebrate at Waffle House, so we gotta
He does. Oh,
you
I
gotta
love
love
Waffle
that.
House. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah, he did. There's like he with his some of the other players went into Waffle House and just very unassuming. Of course, people recognized him, but
I mean,
he's
that
just
game was a Greek tragedy. He
yes,
threw four interceptions in the first half. He looked
hmm
awful. Yeah, I thought, they're going to run him out of town.
yeah,
And then he threw four. I think he threw four touchdowns in the second half,
yep,
or
yep,
one at the end of the first, maybe. But
yeah,
what a game!
yeah. It was a really good game. It's really interesting. I think maybe what people are seeing is that really in these games they're very high level. People are very emotional, but you got to keep your cool because right. I think what really prompted and helped with the final Jaguars comeback was like a penalty, and then Trevor Lawrence did that 2 point conversion, jumped over the top. He's so
Yes,
tall, and if one of the I think it was one of the Bosa brothers. I don't know if it was Joey or Danny or Macho Bosa. I don't know. One of the Bosa brothers. He kind of got upset at the referee and they threw a flag and then moved him
yeah,
closer. So you got to keep your cool. I mean, I felt that might have happened. That could have happened in the Seahawks 49ers game at the end when the Seahawks got like this long field goal because of another stupid penalty. But I just think the 49ers, they that game was like also a tale of two halves, right? It was like very
yes,
close in the first half and then the 49ers. And I feel that's a foreshadowing of what will probably happen in this divisional round is they might the Cowboys will keep it close and go up to a big start in the first half, and unless Brock Purdy finally comes down from this,
man, he's a story too.
yeah, he's a Mr. Irrelevant, the last person picked in the draft, but
Yeah,
unless I think everyone's predicting he's going to fall from grace or whatever it's called, come back to earth, but I think that the 49ers halftime adjustments with their offensive and defensive staff. But I think it's a what's the name of the defensive coordinator is actually getting a lot of interviews or is going to get a lot
yeah,
of interviews.
yeah. I can't think of
Roddy
his name right now. Yeah.
McDaniel. Anyway, uh,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So
It,
anyway, they totally made the switch. The defense put the clamps on Seahawks. Seahawks could not do anything, and then that let Brock Purdy and the offense has like Tebow Samuel, uh,
McCaffrey and
oh yeah, Christian
oh yeah.
McCaffrey. The tight end too is really good.
Oh,
Little George
yes.
Little. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and the other receiver, they have the Ayuk or
oh
however
yeah,
they say his name.
yeah,
They have great. It's just a good
yeah,
team. It's gonna be a tough challenge for the Eagles if they end up facing off in the championship game.
yeah,
So then, what'd you think? I mean, I love the Buffalo game. They had that backup. They had a nobody
yeah.
quarterback
I
for
know.
Miami, and he really stuck it to the Bills.
Yeah, I know. The Bills just need if they don't clean it up, they're going to lose to the Bengals. I mean, they had like what 5 turnovers in that game, three fumbles,
Yes, yeah.
and two
Josh
interceptions. You
Allen,
got to
he's not careful. He's not
got to
careful
take
with the
care of the ball.
football. Yeah.
I mean, cynically, people will say, well, they're on the Hamlin, high, but
Josh Allen reminds me a little bit of, well, he's much better, but he reminds me of Randall Cunningham a bit, who
oh,
had all
okay,
this talent, very athletic back in the 80s, 90s, but
right,
not careful with the football. And this is a killer.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
then we already talked about the Giants, Minnesota. How about that Cincinnati Baltimore game? That was another good one.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was a great game. I
it was
really
a
enjoyed
really
that
good
game.
weekend. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The only one that was kind of like a game where you knew the outcome way too early on was the Cowboys Buccaneers, but this is like, I feel like the swan song or end of the career for the GOAT for Tom Brady,
Yeah.
and they just could not. I mean, I could tell he could still get it done if they give him time. It's just he has no. It's like the line was like a sieve. The offensive
Yeah, he
line.
was a little. He's just. If they had a more mobile quarterback, they might have played a little better. Yeah, he
Yeah,
looked weak too. His throw. He had a lot of underthrows, and
yeah,
I think he's done. I think he needs to retire. But and that game was disappointing. I actually canceled my Monday night AD&D game to watch that game, and about
yeah.
halfway through, I'm regretting it. I'm like, I'd rather be playing D&D than watching this game. But what
Yeah,
happened is all the other games were so good.
right.
I
You
had
felt
this
it was gonna be
miss.
close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was fooled. I'm like, well, of course, Monday night's going to be even better, but it wasn't.
No, no. Which is, I've been a Buccaneers fan for a long time. Honestly, since like probably since like the Tony Dungy days, but even a little before, because there's something about that weird creamsicle Buccaneer logo.
I
Leroy
like the old.
Selman.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like that
Leroy
old one.
Selman, one of the a Hall of Fame defensive
Yeah.
tackle from way
Well, a
back.
Bucks quarterback did win the Super Bowl, just not with the Bucks.
All right, Trent Dilfer. Yeah.
No, no, the one who went to the Giants, the Redskins.
Oh,
Who was that guy too?
oh yeah,
The
yeah.
Redskins. Yeah,
I know you're talking about.
the African American
Yeah,
quarterback,
yeah,
or the first one African
yeah,
American
yeah.
quarterback to win the Super Bowl. I forget. God, I wish I could remember his name now.
Douglas,
People are gonna
Douglas.
think yeah,
Last name,
yeah,
yeah, last name is
that's it.
Douglas. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
yeah.
and the only reason I can't remember him, I'm just not a
Is it?
Redskins fan.
Yeah,
I just don't
yeah,
care.
yeah. I don't know. I can.
So did you
I'm
want me
sometimes
to?
a
Did
little.
you
Go ahead.
go ahead?
Uh, I mean, I'm going to be a little cynical, and I feel like some people will say that this is pre-scripted. I like to have faith, and when I watch the games, especially like I don't know how they would have scripted that Jaguars Chargers game, but okay. Um,
I don't think that was scripted.
no,
Come
no,
on.
but some people are cynical and say, well, it's going to be like Bills and Giants because they won an all New York Super Bowl or something.
You hear this stuff every year. Philly fan. I'm from Philly. We're
Yeah, yeah,
classic. We are the kings of NFL conspiracies.
yeah. Hmm.
But to be honest with you, I never believe it. I don't believe it. Even though I would used to spout them out myself when I was younger. It's fun. It's fun to play with conspiracy. Now, these games look like they're pretty whatever. There's always mistakes. Well, did you just want to go over the games next week though? Do you want to quickly
Yeah,
I have
we
to
went
admit I
over
don't have a lot of
Giants
time
Eagles.
left. Yeah.
Yeah, Giants Eagles. We said Eagles.
I say Eagles and I predict great game though. I
Okay.
don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think
I
if people take the time to watch it, they're going to enjoy that one.
Yeah, I say Eagles too. I just think I've seen them. I've seen them, I've seen the games that they're just really good deep on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Cowboys 49ers.
Mm. You know, I really think it will be the 49ers.
Yeah, I agree. I think the 49ers are just too good because because I follow the NFC West because I'm a Seahawks fan. I've seen the 49ers play multiple times, and they're just the defense is pretty solid, and their offense is just so many weapons. And I know people want to see America's team move on, but
I'm with you.
they played a very weak Tampa Bay team, and they're going to make it a big deal about, oh, they won on the road the first time in forever, but they're not going to
And
win
they
on the
beat
road
the
this
goat.
time.
They're going to be like, we beat the goat, but it wasn't the goat of 4 years ago.
No, it was not. It was
Yeah,
not.
and that's Dallas's propensity to get full of themselves. I even not only do I predict the 49ers will win the game, I predict it will be as bad a game from a competitive point of view as the
Mm,
Monday night game was.
mm,
That's my prediction.
interesting. Jaguars Chiefs.
Mm,
That's also Saturday. It's a Saturday, the early game.
yeah, 4:30, and I would like to watch this game. I'm a Doug. I was telling my older son, I'm like, Doug Peterson's always going to be part of the family, so
Mm.
I'm rooting hard for the Jags. I really like their
Andy Reid, though.
quarterback.
Andy Reid. He's also an
I know
ex-Eagle.
he's part, but he didn't win the Super Bowl for the Eagles. He didn't
Oh,
win. He
they ran into some like
yeah, he lost.
unstoppable Buccaneers defense
He's a
a couple years.
losser. He's a loser. I mean, a losser. Boy, see, I can't speak English. I do think the Chiefs will win it though.
Yeah, but Patrick Mahomes is phenomenal. I think he's the next.
He's too good.
He's a
He's
goat
the
to
best in the
this
league.
era. He's a goat to this era, right? I mean,
He
I
is.
can't.
And I love watching him play. I mean, Trevor Lawrence may look like a Greek god or something, whatever. He's a
Mhm.
tragic hero, but Mahomes is the best. So
Right. Yeah.
he's Zeus.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bengals Bills.
I
This is a weird rematch of a game that never got played.
I love this game. I love Burrows and how cocky he is. He wants to be the modern GOAT. He
Mhm.
wants to be the next Tom Brady.
Well, he's beat Mahomes already
And he's beaten Mahomes and he's
twice.
cocky. And I don't like those people in real life, but I like it when I see it on the football field.
Hmm.
I don't know why. That's maybe I don't know why. It's a contradiction. I just dig his attitude and his cockiness. But I think the Bills are going to win it. That's my prediction.
I'm gonna pick the Bengals. Um,
Oh, our only one we don't agree on.
yeah, the only we don't agree on. I'm gonna pick the Bengals. I don't think you can. I know. I feel like they've been. What happened to their safety? Is it Darren Hamlin?
That was the Bills safety.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Bill safety, like getting a heart attack on the field. Is it Darren?
Yeah.
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 Um, they've been riding that wave of support and for that, but I mean, I don't know.
Well, I'm picking the Bills. I think they're just a slightly better team, and I
Okay.
think Josh Allen will take
Well,
care of the ball better this week.
right.
And I like him too. I mean, first of all, there are a lot of great quarterbacks in this league that you can actually like,
Hmm.
and he's one of them. I like Burrows. I like Mahomes. So, but I think the Bills, just because they're at home, I think they're going to win it, and their defense, I think, is slightly better than the Bengals.
Okay.
But I
Well,
hope you're right, actually, because I like Burrows.
yeah. So when this is published, we will see uh who has the best predictions, I
So
guess.
the
Is that right?
results will be in already. So yeah, that'll
Yeah, the
be
results will
interesting.
be in
Yeah.
already because this probably won't
All
come out
right.
until early next week. So so
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm
Well, if
doing
you want to have me back to have a brief
oh yeah,
championship
NFC
weekend
Championship weekend,
discussion, yeah, I don't
or
want to
maybe
bore you. We won't
I can
go
come
over
on
all
your
the
show.
other stuff. Let's
I can,
come on my show and we'll
yeah,
do
I'll
a
come on your
brief
show.
15-minute.
Yeah,
Yes. Let's do it.
yeah, that'd be cool.
I have to tell you, Carl, I'm running out of time though.
Yeah, no.
Your fans and your listeners don't know we're doing this during my actual work day, and I do
Uh
have
oh.
a meeting coming up. So
Oh
I hate
dang.
to
Yeah, I
say
have
it. I've
BSerCon coming
enjoyed
up,
my time
so
with you though.
yeah, no problem. Well, thank you so
You
much for
do,
joining me,
and I'm going to
MW.
be participating in that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're playing a game together.
You're
We'll talk
welcome.
about
Thank you
BSerCon
for having
next
me
week.
on. I really appreciate it.
All right, take care. All right. So Monday morning quarterback, well, productions on Friday, and what happened over the weekend? Well, I went 4 for 4. MW went 3 for 4. The one pick that we differed in, Bengals versus Bills. I picked the Bengals. He picked the Bills. But what's so funny is in an analysis, he said why the Bengals should win, even though he picked the Bills. So yeah, the Bills prevail. So the championship game is going to be, our championship games are going to be for the AFC, Bills at the Chiefs, and for the NFC, 49ers at the Eagles. So we'll talk to you soon this week, next week. I don't know. Probably go on MW Lewis, Worlds of MW Lewis. But thank you for listening. And yeah, you can, if you have a comment on this, or you've gotten bored of football and you want to tell me, you can email me at geomologist@gmail.com. You can also, I have a SpeakPipe account which is linked to this podcast that I will put in the show notes. And also, what else is in the show notes? Oh, probably some other things in the show notes, which is cool. You can also leave me a message using the Audio Dungeon Discord website, or you can drop me a line, like a voice message through Discord. That was wrong. Through Anchor, on the Anchor website, you can try to leave me a message, and you can try to drop me a line, like as a voice recorded message, on the Audio Dungeon Discord. The intro and outro music is by TJ Drennan, and my wife Amy Lee does a cover clip art. Thank you guys so much for listening. I had a great time with MW, and I hope you enjoyed the show. All right, talk to you soon.